Hello, everyone. Okay, we have just a few more people joining. I want to give just a minute for others. Um, if someone could confirm that you can hear me, that would be awesome. Oh, we're not admitted. Hello.
Hello, Cherie.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good to see everyone. Looks like a few more people are still joining, so we'll give it just a minute for everybody to get brought in.
Meantime,
All
right, just a quick note for yourself, especially some of us who are in United States confused with the timing of this one. Meetup shows 12 p.m., but when we accept the invite and save it on Google Calendar, it is saving as 6 a.m. Central. But right now it is 12 p.m. Central.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry. Those Google calendars do weird translation things, so I'm glad to know that. I may just have to send out an invite for my calendar for future for people who accept. Google does weird things. I don't think they've quite figured out calendars yet.
yeah.
So
Even the earlier ATF training, Raquel was hosting, right? That was
yeah,
showing us at 4 p.m. on Meetup.
weird. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to look and see if we can figure out how to settle those things. So thanks a lot for letting me know. That way we can take care of looking at that.
Sure,
All
thank
right.
you.
So we will go ahead and get started. We may still have a few more people join us. Um, I am going to give a little bit of disclosure. I had to take a flight I didn't expect to take this morning, so I pulled up into a McDonald's. So if you hear a little bit of noise behind me, sorry, that's what's happening. Those of you who know me a little bit better know that my life is kind of weird, so this kind of stuff you're probably used to. And kudos to Raquel for jumping in and handling the other class this morning. So I really, really appreciate that step in. So I'll go ahead and introduce myself, and then we'll take some time and let everyone else do some quick intros. We've got a small enough group that we can all introduce ourselves. So I'm Cherie Silas. I'm going to be hosting today, and I'm going to be presenting a topic on the coaching wheels. And then I'm from Dallas, Texas. I'm a certified enterprise coach, all that stuff. Um, I don't know how much you really need to know about me other than I'm here for your best interest, and I love to interact with you and want this to be a interactive session where you're asking questions and practicing. And my most important thing is that you're taking something away that you're going to be able to use in real life, in real scenarios with your clients. So why don't we take just a minute and do some check-ins. If you could give us your name, your location in the world, and then anything quick that you want to let us know. Other than that, that would be great. And by the way, I am recording this session, so I want to make sure that everybody's aware of that. So who would like to check in first?
I
I
can
can,
start. I'm Amalia. I'm from Romania. I work in Gibraltar and I live in Spain.
Oh, wow. Well, welcome.
Yeah. I was participating in the other class with Raquel, and I know you. I was watching the coaching from Lucia. So I'm a Scrum Master for 3 years. I work in Gibraltar, as I said, and I'm just looking forward to learn new things and to improve my knowledge. That's me.
Well, awesome. Thank you.
Hi, this is Manohar. I live in Chicago and I've been practicing Agile and working as Scrum Master for last 6, 7 years. And I found you through my colleagues who have been trained on ACC from you in Dallas. Maybe I can call out a couple of names like Palumi and few other. So they were talking a lot of great things about you. Then I started following you. Then I signed up for your ATF training as well. And then obviously my first time on your meetup.
Well, awesome. Welcome and thank you. And this is the very first meetup. So you are in on the ground floor. Hey, who else?
Hi, this is Prabhat. I'm from Bangalore and I'm practicing Agile and currently working as an Agile coach and found to do the ICF SEC. And I got this information from one of the colleague, and so just wanted to do the SEC and join this meetup.
Well, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And by the way, midnight for him in India.
Yes, it's already 11:40 p.m.
Wow,
And
thank you then.
we also waited a lot in the 5:30 evening as per the timing problem in Meetup. It was showing some different meeting timing.
Yeah, that's what I heard. We'll try to figure out how to get the online and all the calendars synced before next time. So I really appreciate y'all letting me know that.
Yeah. Thank you.
I can go.
Go.
Oh, go ahead, Raquel.
We always talk at the same time. Okay, I'm Raquel Silva. I'm Portuguese. I live in London. I was with some of you previously. Thank you for hanging out in there. What I do for a living, I'm an internal coach at JP Morgan in London, in the Tech Hub. What I do for fun? Yeah, today is my sister's birthday, so if you see me disappearing meanwhile, is because someone ring on the door and say time for go party, and off I go. So it's lovely to see so many familiar faces around and happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome.
Matt Kirilov. I am a Bulgarian implant in Nebraska in the United States. I'm a coach, an agile coach, and I've been hanging out all morning with Raquel and Manohara and Amelia, so we just switched to Zoom link. And I'll make it easy. I'll pass the ball to Lopa.
Oh, thanks. Hi, I'm Lopa from Bangalore, and I'm also an agile coach, practicing for the past 2 years or so. That is it from me. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. And then Shibu?
Shibu, yeah.
Yeah, hi. I'm currently in Melbourne, Florida, and working as a Scrum Master as well as an Agile coach for General Electric. And I know like most of the people over here like are common friends and the participant of these groups, and been connected with you, Cherie, for the Scrum Alliance coaching, training materials and everything going through. And that's really excellent, which you have been provided that. And I'm part of this meetup with other colleagues of mine like Matt, Andrew, Raquel, and everything. So I'm glad to be here and looking forward for this meetup. Thank you.
It's good to meet you. Is it 3 a.m. in Melbourne?
No, this is in Florida. I'm in Florida, Melbourne.
Oh, you said Melbourne. I thought you meant Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah, so we had Melbourne, Florida also. It's always confusing when I say Melbourne, people think it's Australia. Actually.
I feel a lot less guilty now. All right,
So
and
I'll
then
pass
Pradeep.
this ball to Andrew.
Oh,
Okay, and you
Pradeep, go ahead.
Okay, let me introduce. So myself, Pradeep. I'm working. I'm currently in Germany. So I am working with RAS diagnostic for here from I work for Tech Mahindra. I'm working as a Scrum Master. Worked in diverse roles, responsibilities. So currently as a Scrum Master, I'm working here. That's it. I'm here to learn some new things and came to know about this, meetup from one of my common friends. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Welcome.
I'll pick it up. My name is Andrew Lin. I'm always confused. I've been trying to find out who I am for a very long time. I help team and organization to do twice the work in half the time. And I'm happy to be here. And I'm one of the students from Cherie.
Awesome, welcome. And I think that was everybody, but I tend to lose track by the time we get to the end. All right, that was everybody. Great. All right, so well, I want to say thanks for joining us for our first initial session that we're having of this meetup, and we will be having them every other week in most cases, and we'll have different speakers every time. Many of them are going to be CFPs, CECs, TCs, and then I have a couple of people who are either PFTs or CFTs, because I think we all need to get along, and I don't care which camp you live in. I just care that you're in it for helping people to grow. So we'll have a bunch of different people join in, and one goal that we have is to always have a giveaway that we'll be doing of some value to the people who attend. So that way you are not just getting the value of joining the meetup and what you learn during the meetup, but you also have an opportunity to have some takeaway value, which may be things like the speaker may give away coaching sessions, or the speaker may give away a seat in their class, or whatever they have coming up. My goal with these meetups is to provide a space that's going to create learning for you and give as much into your world and into your career as possible. So today, our giveaway is going to be a seat in the remote Agile Coaching Agile Teams class that's going to be starting in January. So I heard some of you are in the facilitation class, and after that, we'll be doing the Coaching Agile Teams class. And then, so we'll be giving away a seat today for that, since that's something that I can do for you because I'm one of the instructors on that class. I'll give that away towards the end of the session, and otherwise we'll jump in. And so I really want this to be interactive, so please ask questions, give comments, and let's learn together. And then we'll probably do a few breakout rooms to practice these coaching wheels with one another after I do the initial introduction. So we will get started here. And I just did a bit of a picture here of what a coaching wheel would look like. Mine's in color. It doesn't have to be in color. It can be drawn on a whiteboard. It can be on a piece of paper. It can be fancy. It doesn't really matter. And it's kind of like a piece, like a pie that's cut into slices. So when we use these coaching wheels with our clients, you might have a 6-slice pie. You might have a 12-slice pie. You might have an 8-slice pie. It's really dependent on your client and the area that they want to focus on and how they would break that area up. And so we'll talk through that a bit. I'm wondering though, how many of you have any experience using wheels with coaching, or that you've seen or heard of them before? Any experience?
With coaching wheels?
Uh-huh. That does? Okay. And I can't see everybody, so you'll have to actually speak, not just raise your hand, because I can only see like 5 at a time. So if you could just speak up throughout, that would be great.
I have seen the competency framework from Lisa Atkins, which has different form of the coaching, the mentoring, the training, the teaching, and it has different attributes at various levels. So similar to that, looks like certain wheels.
Yeah, so this is actually, if you look in Lisa Atkins' framework, in the professional coaching slice of that framework, the competency of professional coaching, this is a tool that you would use when coaching your client. So it's in that, it's a tool that's inside of that framework. So the way we use the tool is to help people look at different perspectives of their world. And so, for example, if someone is wanting their theme of their wheel to be their career, and how do they improve their career, move to the next level, and they're looking for areas that they want to make some improvements on, we might use that wheel as a career wheel. And then you would have aspects of their career as the different slices in the wheel, the different little sections. And we'll build one out today for everyone. We're going to all go through the process of building your own wheel, and you'll experience being the client using a wheel and seeing what you learn from it. So I'll give you a quick overview of the steps that go into using these wheels for coaching. First is to identify what's the theme. What is it that the client wants to focus on in this session, and look at for how do we decide where we're going to grow, where we want to improve. You often use these wheels in when a client is looking at building a plan for over time for how they want to make changes and improvements in their life overall. So we would identify, well, what theme is it you want? Is it that we want to focus on your personal life? Do we want to, sorry, there's a big train passing by. Had no idea I was on a train track. So 1 second. Okay, I had to wait for the engine to pass by. We're in a populated area, and the train's just right here next to the building, and it was blowing its horn. So, so they may want to work like on their personal life. They may want to work on their career. Maybe you want to work with a team, and they're looking at how do we incorporate agile values and principles into our world, or the Scrum values. So once we determine what's the theme that this customer wants to focus on improving, what part of their world, then we'll populate the wheel with different sections or different aspects of what they have. And the third step, once the client populates the wheel, is that we'll have them rate each area of the wheel according to their satisfaction with where they are in that area of their life. So they determine the scale of how satisfied I am. And so they're just kind of looking at it and saying, yes, I think I'm very satisfied in this area, or I rate this a 3, or my pie slice is half full in this area, whatever scale they'd want to use. And then after we get that foundation, then we use that wheel as a focal point for coaching with the client. And so our coaching session is going to revolve around, well, what is it that they want So they've identified where they are now, but what do they want? And then setting some goals for what they want to see different, and then building a plan for how to move forward. So I'll jump in and give you some ideas here. We'll talk about different aspects that might come up that you could add into your wheel. So some ideas are that you might look at the client's values. Maybe they have personal values or Scrum values that they want to put into their wheel and assess and improve. Maybe it's personal skills or professional skills. Maybe it's different roles they play. They might populate their wheel with things like, I'm a parent, I'm a boss, I'm an employee, I'm a friend, and how do I feel like I'm doing in all these areas of my life? It could be life areas like finances and time management and health and career, things like that. So what are the aspects of their life that they want to look at? It could be things like goals. Maybe they have goals to reach a certain financial status, and that's one area they put. Maybe they have goals to have a happy family, and that's another area they put. Maybe they have some specific career goals or goals to travel, stuff like that. So they could choose how they populate their wheel. And then here are some examples of what might be in those slices. Of course, your client is going to know what those things are, and they're going to start filling them in. So I want to take a few minutes here and have some conversation around how you might fill in your wheel. If you were my client and there's an area of your life you're trying to improve, how would you want to look at your wheel? And what are some examples of places you might want to fill in? So let's hear from you.
So is the color represents any specific situation or doesn't matter?
No, I was just playing with Keynote and trying to figure out how to make something that had multiple slices. They just represent different areas. So on this one, if we use this wheel, it would have 8 areas you could fill in. You could make more areas or less areas. What I'm going to have you do, take a piece of paper and ink pen and draw your own wheel on your piece of paper and look at what is it about your life that you want to focus on today.
I can kick it off. So yesterday at work, I was creating slides on facilitation, and I was going through Gene Tabaka's book. And then today I had another facilitation. So facilitation has been on my mind. And I was just, when I saw this, what it made me think is different facilitation competencies. And what it made me think is how some of the competencies can be very close and they overlap together. So I was thinking, how would I put them so that there's no overlapping competencies in there, so it's easy for me to discern what I really need to work on rather than get bogged down. And if I'm providing this to a client, same kind of thinking, how do I create maximum clarity and as little overlap as possible?
Yeah, so if you built your wheel, it would be like your facilitation wheel. And then each slice would have a competency of facilitation. You might have 8, you might have 6, you might have 20, you might have 4. So that would be you that would decide how many slices based on how many competencies you're working on in facilitation. So here's another example of what you might do if you're looking at an area of your life you want to make improvements on.
Hi, I'll go for Lopa. So for me right now, I'm looking at something how I reach my dream. I want to become a professional speaker. So this I can use that to find out what are the areas I need to focus if I have to go into that area.
I love that. Yeah, so this is your professional speaking goal wheel. And then the different things you have to learn about professional speaking or different competencies you have to have. Like,
Yes,
I'm assuming it's things like doing a presentation well, learning PowerPoint or Keynote, and then, being funny or whatever.
exactly. Yes, that's true. Like, or how do I prepare myself for a TEDx talk and all those
Mm,
things and that.
awesome, awesome. I could even see for yours that you might have some slices that are around goals, like
Yes,
your road to a TEDx speaker. That might be one of your slices. Speak in front of
exactly.
1,000 people. That might be another slice, something like that. So
That's right.
different different aspects of this goal you have around being a professional speaker. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Who else has an example?
Yeah, yeah,
Manahara?
yeah. From my end, right now, the company I'm working for, my focus is on agile values, where we are obviously pretty new to the transformation, but we are having challenges with the command and control structure that was there for years. So our focus is on agile and then the Scrum framework practices to be followed.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've got options there, maybe to even have multiple wheels. Like you might have one that's got four sections and it's the agile value. You could probably do a wheel with your clients that would be Scrum value, so it would have 5 sections. You might even do one that's got 12 sections, and each
Yeah,
one has a principle in it.
right.
So really cool. So y'all are kind of getting now the what it could look like for your client to decide, well, what's the thing that I want to focus on, and how do I break that up? Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'll have you create your own wheel. So you can draw a wheel out on a piece of paper, decide what your topic area is, and I'm going to give you a minute to fill in the different sections. And if you don't have 8, that's totally fine. Like I said, you pick the number, and you're welcome to leave a couple blank because they might come in, you might figure it out as you go along. So I'm going to, just like I would with the client, I'm just going to give you some space to fill in your own wheel. And what may make it easy is if you turn off your camera while you're working, and then when you're finished, turn your camera back on, and then that way we've got a signal that everyone is ready to move forward. We'll give you another minute or so to finish that up. And then, so today you're going to kind of partially experience being a client. I want you to experience part of being a client, and I also want you to be able to just get the concept of what we're doing. So you may not completely finish everything, but you'll be able to take that away from here and go work on it on your own.
Sure.
All right. So then once you've got your client to spend some time and label their wheel, you might even have them come in to your session with their wheel already labeled. The next step in that process is for them to look at how satisfied they are with each area of that they've chosen for their wheel. So the client can select their own scale. Some people do like I'm happy 1 through 10. Some people like to shade. It's really up to them because your client is going to know the thing that resonates best with them, how they measure. If they're kind of confused and they are like, well, I don't know what you mean, how do I measure it? Then you might just tell them something like, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you? Or how close to where you want this area to be are you? So I'm going to give you just a minute now to go through all of the areas that you wrote and rate them based on your satisfaction level with where these areas are today. And then we'll move on after that. So I'll give you a minute to do that.
Sure. Shall we start?
Yeah, you can go ahead and just fill in, you can write on your paper whatever your rating is in each one of your areas.
Yeah, as I was talking about agile values and the understanding Scrum framework. So my priority starts with the roles and responsibilities, because when we have too many people in the kitchen, there is a chaotic situation in the teams. So that is where my primary focus is, from understanding roles and responsibilities. Who is my product owner? Who is my Scrum team? Where does the Scrum Master stands? Obviously, that is my first one. And then the other thing is around the being courageous, honest feedback. And the third priority for me is taking out fear of failure, especially when the teams are transforming. They are scared of failure, learning from the previous sprints and then how to be successful. These are my quick synopsis of focus areas.
So then if you had to look at each one of those focus areas, so for example, the roles and responsibilities, how satisfied are you with where this is today? So if 10 is we are completely there, we know exactly what we're doing, we have no more growth, and 1 is we have no idea what we're doing, how would you rate where you are today in that area?
Yeah, if I take on the scale of 1 to 10, I would say we are at 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what you'll do now is that same thing like we just did with that, figure out like I'm a 4 or 5 with every one of your areas. You're going to go rate where you are today. And that's what you would have your client do. Go rate, where are we? And this is something you can do with a group of people. And it's also something you can do with an individual. So by rating each area, it gives us a baseline to be able to look at and say, well, what's the state of my company, or what's the state of this area of my life today? It's setting a baseline. Okay.
Yeah, even I guess we can do the same approach for our Scrum teams as well, right? Maybe as a Scrum Master, as a team coach, we can take team to fill in this wheel and then we focus on that. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, it's a great way for your team to find a common viewpoint of where they are and where they want to grow. So before we jump into coaching on the wheel, anybody else want to share what your topic is and what your wheel, give us a little bit of a picture of what your wheel looks like?
I can share.
Okay.
I actually have a picture on my screen. Should I share my screen, make it easier?
Sounds good.
Good.
So I guess, should we stop sharing? I can share my, hold on. Oh, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, so,
cool.
well, you can see the only tool I know it's Microsoft Paint. I got 8 area. So I got self-awareness. I realize I'm very low in that area. I happened to have a camera in my kitchen the other day, and the camera witnessed the way I talked with my wife. And I played back, and they said, "Man, I'm an asshole." But so you know, it's quite an experience for me. And then training, I'm actually on the doing the trainer right now. So that's where I am. CTC application, I feel pretty bad about that. I started like 2 years ago, and I have not even finished the part 1. And I heard they changed the application right now. So I started when there's no pre-call, and there's a pre-call, and now they changed the question. So the coaching part, my path to the ACC, I just need to be on Cherie's mentoring again, and then I can, you know, finish that one. I really have to. I find interesting about these two kind of philosophies, you know, I Ching and Zen. I'd like to study more on that one. And final area is learn to focus. I realize focus, it's probably the most challenging Scrum values to me. It's the shining object, it's all that, and it's like I have to focus. I have to tell myself to focus, and it's really hard because I keep mentioning to the team to focus, but I realize myself is not focused. It's very challenging. So that's my area, and the numbers showing where I'm right now. Thanks. I'm gonna stop sharing.
That's awesome. Thank you. Anybody else want to share theirs? We have time for probably 2 people to share, and then we'll move on. Okay. We will move on. I'll go ahead and start sharing my slides again. Okay. So then the next step in this process is that you're going to start working with your client. Once they've got all those pieces figured out, now we'll start working with them and do a coaching session. So these are some examples of the initial types of questions you're going to ask them. Doesn't mean you have to go through this list. It's just some examples of things that you might ask them. The point of this set of questions is to create some awareness in your client. So they've looked at this wheel, they've created the wheel, they've rated themselves, and that's probably already started to create some awareness because they get this visual image of where they are in their life. And then you can ask them some of these questions, like, tell me the story that this wheel is actually telling. And Amber, since you showed yours and we have a visual of it, would you mind maybe answering a couple of these questions? That way it can help us to hear what that conversation might look like with our client.
Me?
Would that be okay? Yeah, would that be okay with you since you
Oh, yeah,
already
yeah, yeah.
shared your wheel?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so then for you, what when you look at your wheel, what's the story that wheel is telling?
Well, it's telling me first that I'm not focusing. There's just too many things, right? So if I have to focus, the wheel should only have one item or two, right? So I'm not doing what the link is trying to say, the limit of your work in progress.
So what is it about this, what you're seeing that's telling you that you're not focused?
I'm feeling bad about that. It's like I know that there's so many things going on, but yeah, I should limit that the whole wheel. I should have some empty block there. Like empty is good.
And so then what's the impact that this is having on your ability to be successful?
It's good exercise for me to these areas that I have to focus on. The impact would be, oh God, now I have so many things that I have to finish, and Christmas is coming.
So it sounds like all this unfinished stuff that you have. I'm hearing some, like, when you talk about the impact, I'm hearing this kind of dread, like, oh God, I've got all this to finish.
Yeah, I realize I cannot hide from Cherie.
You know you're going to have to send me 2 Christmas presents for every unfinished item, right?
Okay.
So when others look at these areas of your life, how do you think they view it?
They would think that I don't think you be able to finish all this. You're not focusing, and you don't know how to prioritize, and that's really bad to be an agile coach. That also means I don't have any self-awareness. Oh, not really. I feel really bad.
Well, it sounds like you do have some awareness because you're seeing this stuff. So tell me this: what's going to happen if you don't make any changes to the way you've been working up until now?
Oh, that's not acceptable to me and to the people I work together. It has to be move on, and I think I have to just move on to one area or maybe 2 areas at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, what would it cost you to do that?
It won't cost me anything. I mean, it will if I start with 2, actually, it's not gonna cost me anything. Yeah.
So what will you have to give up in order to focus on 2?
I have to give up. So I have 6 areas. So I need to give up 4 of them. So I may be making some people not happy. But I just have to, okay, I have to pick 2 areas before the end of the year, period.
Okay. All right, so then we'll pause for just a second. I'll quit picking on Andrew, and I want to get some thoughts from the rest of you. If you were working through this with your client, what are some thoughts that are coming up for you right now, or questions?
I think, yeah, when we are focusing on starting too many items, right? Whether it is your transformation or whether it is your personal day-to-day office work or personal work, we should focus on reducing context switching so that it helps you personally as to finish the things first instead of starting many. I guess that's where it helps individually as well as professionally. You will start finishing the things instead of starting the things. Cherie, we could not hear you.
We are not
Sorry.
getting your voice.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so it's important to realize that sometimes our clients take on too much work. They want to do everything. They want to get a lot of stuff done. But the truth is, we can never be 100% in every area of our life. Every slice of your pie is not going to be at 100%. It's just not. And I don't even know that you want it to be. And if you want to increase some areas, that means you're going to have to decrease some focus or some energy or some effort or some finances or whatever you have to shift to a different focus. Because we only have a certain amount of time and we only have a certain amount of energy and money and mental capacity and all that stuff. So in order to focus in some areas, you know, we can't, our whip can't be everything. We've got to limit some of it. So it's important to recognize that. So what other thoughts about how this could be used with your clients up until this point?
This is Lopa here. I think this is a very good tool for setting the goal and for client, for client, either team or any individual to understand where they are, and also help them in prioritizing what is the thing they need to work on first. So that's one thing which I think the key was setting the goal and understand what are the things they need to do and prioritize. That came to my mind.
Awesome. Yeah, so then this first set of questions is really around helping the client understand where they are and really have some awareness about how they got there and how the behaviors that they're practicing today are either helpful or not helpful. So, and if you notice, like I'm not leading the client to say you shouldn't be doing this and you need to focus on this. I'm really just asking questions that helps the client to start thinking about, well, what's the impact of the way I'm working today, and what is my world looking like, and is that how I want it to look? So the next set of questions here are going to be around creating some visions. So we have the awareness is around, here's the baseline, here's where we are today. And the vision is around, well, where do I want to be tomorrow? How would I like things to be different than they are today? So here's some of the questions that you might ask. And it's these things like, well, what would you like to see different? How are you going to achieve that? So I'd like to do a little bit, another exercise here. And Andrew, I know you're a willing victim. So if you'll continue being that client, I want to give you a couple of minutes to do a little bit more coaching down the line. And Matt, will you step in and be that coach and kind of go through some of these questions and help get to that next step of creating a bit of vision around what Andrew wants to see his world look like instead of what it is today?
Absolutely. So where are we right now? Where do we pick up from?
You can pick up with any of these questions here. And these are just examples, so you can slide in your own. He's already gotten this kind of awareness of where he is, and now we want to start focusing on, well, what does he want it to look like in the future?
Yes, so
it is free. May free, I'll take two.
Let's see here. What will be different about your future if you make these changes? how do you feel about having so many options? About the number of options that you have.
Right. So just as soon as I list all of them, and I realize I'm not actually doing what I try to do. So I'm not focusing. I don't have a priority list. So I like to just focus on maybe 2 of them, let's say by the end of the year.
Which ones would you like to focus on?
So I know my trainer is scheduled to be on January. So that is, the day is already set. So I have to hit it, and actually that's good. So that would be one area. The other area, I'd like to be a better person. So I'd like to increase my self-awareness.
How will you show up differently than you are showing up today if you focus on these 2 areas?
So for the trainer, I have to go to that trainer training. There's quite a few areas I have to prepare for that. I will be different if I would be more confident and actually learning from the master who creates Scrum. I'm actually going to Jeff Sutherland's training, FYI. So hopefully I will pick one or few things from him and be a better trainer, be more confident about my material, and that. The self-awareness, like I mentioned, I saw the video. I'm not happy about who I am in the video. I'd like to change the way that I behave. Now, I don't know how to do that yet.
I saw a little smile there, a little bit of lightness, how you changed when you talked about changing the way you behave. What was that shift like for you? You went from being analytical, very concise and very articulate about what you're talking, to being a little, what seemed to me, dreamy and a little bit light. What was that for you, like for you? Help us understand.
It's actually not easy to see yourself in a video that you are aware that's being recorded and then watching it, and it's kind of painful to watch that, but then realizing that, hey, if I can change, I can, we always say happy wife, happy life. So I will have a happy life.
All right, awesome.
Can I quickly make a quick observation? I want to thank you for the courage to stand up in front of a group and be almost self-deprecating and self-critical about this, Andrew. And I want to thank Cherie for the courage to wear a gold cardigan and a red blouse in the McDonald's.
Never even put the 2 together. You're hilarious. It was all planned. So that's hilarious. So yeah, and some of the questions in here in this list that would probably be really good to ask would be something like, what do you not want to see in yourself in 1 year? So he started talking about what he is today. Well, what do you not want to see? And what are you not going to tolerate in your future story? You've got the story of today. The wheel is telling you you're at a 1, but what are you not going to tolerate in your future story? So these are some things that, can help your client to start to think of, what do I want to be in the future? What do I want to see different than I have today? What are you going to demand be a part of your future story? Demand of yourself. Okay. So then after you go through these questions here that are creating vision, the next kind of focus that you're going to shift to is now we're going to look at creating some goals and prioritizing those goals. So now we're moving into, well, what do we want to make sure we do? There's a lot you could do, but how do you want to actually focus on moving forward? So who would like to ask Andrew some more questions? And you've got these here as the guide. Who'd like to jump in as the coach?
Okay, I'll give it a try. All right. Okay. Andrew, okay, yeah. So you just mentioned when you're talking to Matt that you have thought through 2 areas which you want to focus on. So if you can let us know, like, how are you going to prioritize? What was your prioritization? Like, what did you think through when you prioritized those 2 areas?
So I realized I'm not practicing what I told people to practice, right? So we always say you have to prioritize your backlog items. If you don't, you fail to be a good product owner. You fail to be a scrum master. Well, I know there's a deadline in January, so it's very easy for me to prioritize there. And the area about self-awareness, it's I think it's a big impact to me, and I really like to be different. And I think it's a higher, it will make me a better person. And I think that will actually, you know what, that will actually helping with my other areas.
Okay. So if I hear it correctly, you said that self-awareness is the one which you want to focus on because that will help you in other areas. All right. So how is it going to help you in achieving your goal, or if what the goal which you have in mind, how is it going to help you out?
So I'm not well, so here's the challenging ones. The goal to be a self-awareness, I don't know what the goal will look like, but actually, you know what, I do know now. I would speak very slowly with my wife.
Okay.
I will not raise my voice. So that's
All
2
right.
things that I have to remind myself.
Okay. So you
And
will.
even she keep asking the same question. I need to be very patient.
All right. Okay. And how much time you're going to spend on this particular goal? I mean, considering you were looking something in January. So
the trainer it's a little bit challenging because actually, you know, it's not challenging. It's a product or project has a deadline. It's the best thing that you ever gonna get because you know you have to hit it. So now it's like, so how many things that I have to put it there? So I volunteered to do some translation for them. So I have to finish that. I have to prepare, you know, I think that area is fine. I'm not that particular worried. The self-awareness, I go home every day, so I can practice every day.
okay. So let's take a timeline and see how it works out. Like for the next quarter or next 3 months, what is that you said you're focusing on self-awareness? So how is it a 3 months timeline, or do you have any timeline in mind when you want to achieve this?
So good question. So trying to make me commit to something. Yes. So January is already been committed, and I like to commit at the same time for my self-awareness to be like, okay, no more argument
Okay.
before the mid-January with my wife.
All right. And when do you want to start that? Working on your goal.
Oh, I already started after I watched my own video.
Okay. Right. And how would the success look like? How would you know that you have achieved the goal?
Well, the trainer, well, if I pass the trainer, and then I don't know what's the next step from them, so I have to find out after that. So if I survive the trainer, I should be, feel really good about that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Awesome. So then
Thank
I'm
you.
going to jump into the next group of things. So now we're walking through this progression. Now we're creating some goals, and and as you can see, he's getting more and more awareness as he goes on. Like he's like, oh, well, I don't know about that. Oh, wait, I do know. So these questions actually provoke different lines of thinking about where he wants to go. So then the next piece is going to be, well, how do we create a plan? So he's already starting to put together some of that plan. And so it sounds like he's kind of got a plan for where he wants to go with the trainer. It's kind of laid out. I have to do that. There's not really an option. I know where I'm going. But then there's still this thing around my self-awareness and how do I keep my wife from making me sleep in the doghouse? So now we want to really focus a bit more on, well, what's a plan that you're going to put together to make some step forward? He doesn't have to be completely done first step, but we're looking at what are some of the first steps that you're going to make as you're moving forward. Okay. So then who would like to do a little bit of coaching on this section? Another practice coach.
Okay, I can try with Andrew.
Awesome. All right, Shibu. Let's ask a few questions and see if we can get a little bit of plan around how a little bit of structure around how he's going to move forward.
Okay, so Andrew, you mentioned the trainer. You already have a timeline. So have you laid out the plan? I mean, say that you have a timeline on January, but from now till January. So do you have any plans?
So because it's gonna be taught my Jeff Sutherland, so I actually have to go back to as many articles that he wrote before, kind of understand who is he, what is he thinking, what's the vision for this trainer program that he's putting up. So I have to, I know a few areas that he always focus on, like adaptive complex systems. So I really have to look at these areas because I heard about them before. I never really pay attention to it. So now I have to find, I know that's one area, maybe I'll find a few others. So really understands like what is he, who he is. So I can learn from him.
Okay, so do you have like the different task defined for a particular timeline, or you're trying to figure it out what all needs to be done?
I'm still trying to figure out. I know that's one big area. I know that's another. Oh, there's another book I have to read, which is by his son, J.J. Sutherland. So I'm pretty sure he cannot mention that book. So I have to read that book. So I have to one book, one area to study. I think that's good enough.
So it's still again like a 2-month time frame. Do you think something going to get in your way? Some have anything unplanned or something like that? Did you had thought about on this?
So yes, I do have a vacation schedule that I have to go back to Taiwan. So that's I'm probably not gonna have much time to do anything there. So that's only about a month for me to prepare this.
Okay, so if anything comes up unplanned, any backup plan to overcome the challenge?
I don't think that, well, everybody need a backup plan, but in this case, I'm pretty clear about what's going to happen. So I don't think there's gonna be anything that kind of be my impediments. So
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like your confidence, you're like prepared for the plan. So I believe you have laid down your success, for the plan, what you need to be successful in this plan.
Oh, did I just violate the some kind of agile Scrum principle? Like, don't have a plan, you should do planning, not the plan.
You're hilarious. All right, I'm gonna just cut in so we can step a little bit forward. So I'll introduce the next two sections. So we want to create a plan with them, and part of that creating this plan is that we want to not just understand what's the plan, but what might get in the way, like you were talking about. And if those things happen, how are you going to move forward? How are you going to get around those obstacles so that you can continue to move forward? And then once your client kind of understands what their plan is, they understand what their challenges are and how they get beyond their challenges, then we want to create some accountability, and they are holding themselves accountable. So here's some of the questions that you might ask them. And so how do you stay on track? How do you achieve these goals? When are you going to get started? How are you going to measure progress towards your goals? What will happen if you don't meet those goals? Things like that. So these are the types of questions you're asking them and helping them to really refine, how am I going to make sure this happens for myself? So as a coach, you're not going to be running behind the client saying, are you doing your job? Are you doing your thing? Are you following your plan? They need to figure out a way to make sure that they're doing that. So, Andrew, I'll ask you a couple of these questions. So, who needs to support you in your ability to get this stuff done that you need done by January?
I'm a pretty self-disciplined person, so that, I mean, the deadlines, I already booked the flight, booked the hotel, so there's no way, I would skip that one. So.
And so how are you going to lay these goals out so that you actually can get them all done before the class?
So I have the book, and then one of the two areas that I have to focus on. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
So I'm wondering a thing here. So I heard you say you have this class, you're going to the trainer. Jeff's probably going to mention this book, so you need to read it. He's probably going to mention that book, so you need to read it. I'm wondering here, are these self-imposed, I have to go read these books, or are these actually requirements that you have to do for all of these?
Oh, it's not. None of these are requirements. I already passed the requirement. So it's a requirement before they allow you to sign up for the trainer. So I already I already passed that requirement. It's just something that I would be more comfortable if I have these prepared.
So then how do you need to prioritize the things that you'd like to do before class, just in case you can't get all of them done?
I'm not. Can you say the question again? I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounded like you had a few different books you needed to read. So if you don't have time to read all of them, that's a possibility. You might be able to get them all read. But is there a priority order you need to put them in to make sure you get the most valuable stuff done if something falls through the cracks?
Okay. Great question. I have a lot of books that I didn't finish. So I do know how to do that. So if I don't have a time, I just gonna skip like really quick and then go to a few chapter. Like, yeah, that's yeah.
So you read the titles and just read the important stuff. Okay, so that sounds like a plan that you've got. Okay, just wondering.
Yeah.
So what's going to be the impact if you don't actually get all these books read?
The impact's not that big because I'm pretty confident. The reason they allow me to go to there is because my application shows I'm qualified to be there. This is just extra. It's not must have. It's like nice to have, right? And so, yeah.
Okay. And so I'm wondering, you've got a lot of stuff here, and it sounds like you've got a lot of stuff you've accomplished and you're working on accomplishing. So how are you going to celebrate all these successes you're making?
Yeah, that's always the area that I'm not really good about. Not only to myself, but also to the team that work together. Yeah. Actually, I have to really think about the questions. I don't know. Like, I know I'll be happy, but I don't know.
What do you think the value of celebrating is?
It's giving that confidence that, oh, I'm done. Like, you know what? It's part of the definition of dance. Like, yeah, the celebration is my definition of dance. I got to do that. Yes. So that's the area that I into. Like, yeah, it's giving you that I can sleep at night, right? Because I know it's done.
Yeah. No, I really like that. And so that kind of brings us to this next area of the wheel where we're creating learning. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here. As we've talked about all this stuff, what's something that's apparent to you now that you were not as aware of when you first started this conversation with this wheel?
Well, to me, this is a good session because it's forced me to focus on what I have to focus on. I realized a few things. Yeah, like I just talked about that. The celebration is part of my definition of dance. So if I don't have that, I won't be able to sleep at night. So there's a few good idea that I come up with that I'm happy about.
You're on mute, Cherie.
Oh, sorry, I thought I unmuted. What's exciting to you about where you are at this moment versus where you were 20 minutes ago?
Oh, all I did is showing my wheel, and that's what I end up with. So I appreciate all the coaching helping me out. I'm excited because I think I'm ready. I'm ready for the January, and I'm excited because I think I know how to make my wife happy.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm going to take another break real quick here. So what's really important about creating learning with your client is until someone asks us some of these questions around what are we realizing, what are we learning, you don't actually know. And when somebody asks you a direct question about what do you know now that you didn't know before, what are you learning that while we're talking, that's when they have to think about it and that learning actually comes to the surface. So the goal of coaching is to create that learning and awareness. So we want to make sure that we do those things. And then the last kind of step in the coaching process here with this wheel is just like in any other coaching process, there's a bit of reflection by the coach of what they've seen in the client over this process. So if I were to give some coaching reflection, I would say that what I'm noticing about Andrew, what I'm noticing about you in this conversation is your willingness to admit that you've got growth that has to happen. You very quickly said, wow, there's some things I want to do differently, and there's some things I want to focus on. And your willingness to be able to move forward and say, I'm willing, also the courage that it takes to say, I'm just going to focus on 2 areas for the next 4 months or the next 2 months, however long that is, instead of working on everything. There's a quick realization, and I think that that is self-awareness, that you can't do it all, and a willingness to say, I'm going to limit it, and that's courageous, to be able to say, I'm just going to focus on this, and I'm going to let the other things sit for a minute. So that's pretty impressive to me. So what are your thoughts and your reflections about the work you've done?
It's always great to have several coach, to helping out. We all need coach. I'm just happier because I think I talk a lot. I got my things out. I'm committed, and I'm happy. Yes.
Awesome.
I'm more peaceful. Yes.
Well, awesome. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And so I want us to have just a couple of minutes of follow-up in the group about what you learned today about this tool and how you might incorporate it into the work you're doing. So I'd like to hear a little bit from everybody.
Yeah, from my end, especially this is a new innovative idea to try with our Scrum teams, especially, right? The common approach everyone takes is, okay, yeah, a new team is transforming. We'll put them into a room and then teach something, and we expect them to be transformed up and running. But this kind of approach, right, especially helps, yeah, whether it is at organizational level, dealing with the clients, or at the team level. Definitely, this is probing me to apply to personally as well. Okay, how would I change myself? Where am I today? Where I need to be? What is my goal, and how do I achieve it? Yeah, it's a very helpful tool for individual as well as for the teams to work with. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. That's great. And it's a great point that you can actually coach yourself through this wheel.
Yeah.
And so you can use it with someone and you can use it for yourself too. Really great notice. Who else?
For me, I like it that it's kind of like a visualization tool, like that you can use in your coaching process. Like, okay, maybe it's very helpful to ask questions that can simulate thinking, but when you like just see it in your face, it's like it gets learnings more quickly and more, yeah, this visualization.
Yep.
In fact, when we are having these questions face to face, it raises the bar for the other person as well as for the coach.
Yeah, and this actually is a baseline, so you can keep this baseline and have it visible, and then do check-in with your client or with your team, whoever that is, whoever your client is, every so often, and say, well, where are we now? Let's measure again, and let's see what's moving, and see if we need to set some new goals. So you can use this over time, and it's a great way to see change. And if you're really technical, you can build it on like a thing that they can overlay the different, like a spider diagram or whatever. I'm not all that technical, so I don't usually do that. Any other learning?
I like having the options up front. It takes a lot of navigation and exploration to get the options, and the wheel kind of takes care of that. I like being lazier in coaching, and when the wheel does the work and they already have an idea of all the options that they have and they've evaluated them, then we can really delve into the meat of what they really want in their learnings. So I really like that part, that it takes care of the options for me.
Yeah. And remember, you can have them fill in the wheel before y'all meet, and even, rate the wheel before you meet, or you can do it together. It just kind of depends on how much time you've got. Okay, how about one more?
I would say these are like powerful questions, it can be like, as you mentioned, it can be used for the self-coaching as well as, with the clients to trigger their thought process and, to raise their level of thinking as well as their level of expectations. I think this is a wonderful way to start experimenting it.
Awesome. Okay, so then we're almost out of time here, and I did do a recording of this session, so I'm happy. I'm going to put the recording up probably on the YouTube channel, and then that way people can have access to it publicly. Do you all want these slides? Because it's Keynote, but I can drop it in. I can convert it to PDF and drop it into the messages for y'all. That way you'll have the information if you'd like it. Yes, I see one or two people say yes. Okay, so I'll do that in just a second, and I'll drop it in, and then you can just download it directly. But I want to do our raffle, and let's see if I can put this to work. This is the first time I'm using this tool. It's a bit of a randomizer. So I'm gonna shuffle these names. I just threw them in. I just copied who was here, and I'm gonna randomly shuffle them. All right. Now we're gonna click and see who is gonna be the winner. This is a really cool tool. Who's gonna be the winner? Oh, Amalia, you almost had it. So I thought it was going to stop on you, Manahara. Manahara, is that how you say it? Manahara?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, great. Can you email me, and then I'll make sure that you get we get your seat set up in the next class, and then you have one A seat in the next class. That's I think it's a $1,300 value is what those seats are selling for. So not bad for an hour investment. So an hour and a half investment of time. So you're welcome. And then, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and convert the Keynote over into a PDF so that I can drop it into the chat box. But how about just some, just a closing note from anybody? Have anything you want to close up with for today? Any last thoughts?
This is Lopa here. Thank you very much for this introducing this awesome tool. I mean, honestly, I've not used it, so it is a good one to be. I can use it with my team, and the questions were really powerful and structured. So this tool is thank you for introducing to this tool.
You are welcome. All right, and then I just dropped the PDF in. Make sure you pull it down if you want it before you disconnect, because you won't have access to it after. And I'm only sharing the PDF with this group. That way you have it to be able to use.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate your joining the meetup. We'll have another one in 2 weeks. And I think Alex Kudnov is doing that one. And he's doing a method of self-coaching, which should be pretty cool. He's a professional Scrum trainer with Scrum.org, and he's one of my coaching students, and he's fabulous. Fabulous coach, great organizational coach, but also a great professional coach. And I've never seen anyone that, number one, reads so much in all my life and actually retains the stuff he reads and uses the stuff he reads. I think he's got this massive mainframe computer in his head. I don't know how he does it, but you're going to really love him. Feel free to invite some others to join, and hope that we see you in a couple of weeks. It's great seeing
Thank you,
all.
Cherie. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Alrighty, bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.